went to college, right? But I dropped out, right? Financial reasons, and but I ain't let that paralyze me or define me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go anyway, and then they convinced me to go, and so
Mm-hmm.
because at the time, at my age, you had to do a little bit more than go to high school, and that was the scary pivotal point. But I remember my wife saying, she was like, "Look, you need to go get a job." And I said, and at that point, I felt attacked, right? And I
Mm.
told her, I said, "Baby, I love you dearly, but if I can't live my dream, and I'm
Yeah.
doing what you say, when I supposed to live life,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
work.
Mm.
It's not gonna work,
Yeah.
and you just gonna have to believe." Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like I didn't want to. I was working,
Yeah.
but I was working a regular job, and I was financing my business,
Mm.
and so um that went on for a long time, and then you lose money, and she's like, "Look, but just give it up." And I'm like, "No."
Mm. Thank you so much for joining us again on the Journey to More podcast. My guest today is Tilik Wynn. He is a serial entrepreneur. He is my accountability partner. He keeps me in check on the right path. And I really appreciate him for being on today to teach us how to pivot, how to know when to pivot, and how to get your mind right, when you have to make those moves. So, Talik, tell us about yourself.
Thank you
Okay.
so much for
Okay.
allowing me to be on your platform. But yeah, so so this is amazing. But about me, I'm 51 years old. I got a family of my son and my wife. My son, he's 23, about to be 24 soon. My wife and I have been married over 28 years, and I live in Atlanta. I'm an
Tell
entrepreneur.
us about your podcast. Tell us about, you got a lot going on. Tell us about
Uh,
what you got going
I do. So our podcast is B2M, just like on
on.
my hat, crew, B2M Crew, and we're located on and a platform that we on is YouTube. And our podcast is five childhood friends, 40 years of friendship, and over 100 years of marriage combined. And we have 13 children, 12 sons, and 12 sons and one daughter. And so our podcast is not how to, but how we raised our sons. And we all came from single mother households. And to show the audience and show our viewers that you don't have to stick by the statistics. Based on the statistics, if I ran them down, then, of course, I was supposed to be dead and in jail and not
Mm-hmm.
successful at all. So those are statistics. And so I don't know what they are now, but I'm pretty sure they ain't changed them. Even if
Right.
they have moved the needle, right?
Right. Right. Right.
so our podcast really talks to our children, and we tell our perspective of how they grew up, how we raised them when they were dating, um, and went through a heartbreak. Um, my brother is one of the gentlemen on the podcast, as well as a couple cousins. So we all friends, and on our podcast, or when the reason we started our podcast is because we used to have these talks in the morning and sometimes in the evening, be like, "Man, there's a
Mm-hmm.
boy doing this. Man, what do you do?" And so we had these conversations for years, and we've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like we had our built-in village. And sometimes as a father, and y'all, as parents, y'all know, we tell our kids till they blue in the face. Next thing you know, the guy down the street, the coach, the mentor, etc., tell them something, and man, the light bulb go off, and they excited, and you like, I've been telling you that for
I said
years.
the same
So
thing.
it's not the same, right? So sometimes you say it so much it fall upon deaf ears, and that's sometimes what the scripture talks about. But so that's what our podcast kind of focus on and talk about when they went to, going to private schools and going to private schools with all white kids and how to be able
Mm-hmm.
to navigate. Our podcast talk about them having sex for the first time or the journey about them. Anything young boys gonna deal with when that
Mm-hmm.
coach benched them and or they flunked the test or any of those moments that kind of paralyze them.
Mm-hmm.
Podcast talks about it, and we want our platform and our podcast to let's see what the B2M crew say about this right here, because I'm kind of struggling with my children in this area. And it really focused on our sons. So you're not really, if you got a daughter, you still can learn something, but
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
ours is niche to our sons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's about the village.
Mm-hmm. And tell us
Yeah.
about your journey. So tell me about your entrepreneurial journey as far as like, did you start it in a 9 to 5 or did you come out the gate as an entrepreneur? How did that start for you?
Well, oh man, my journey, my uncle, when I was younger, man, he always taught me, told me about being an entrepreneur, and I thought that was just so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he planted the seed, but he wasn't a mentor in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Got
had
it.
to navigate and get myself in the rooms and read and study and learn. And I'm still a student of the business.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you stay a student of the business, you'll remain humble and you'll remain able to grow. So I like to say I like to be a student of the business. And so he planted that seed and at a very young age. And I always was a go getter. I always created little odds and end jobs ever since I was
Mm-hmm.
like 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I always like to say I was born to be an entrepreneur. You cut me open, and that's what you're gonna see.
Yeah.
I'm wired different. I move
Mm-hmm.
different. And so I have had plenty of jobs in the past. I had over 60 jobs. Got fired from
Mm-hmm.
all of them, maybe except for one. And so I learned a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot. And one of the main things that I learned about having them 60 jobs, I learned how to serve people. I learned the
Mm-hmm.
service business. I learned
Yeah.
how to pour into others. I
Yeah.
learned how to talk to people. I you know, a lot of times, um, your supervisor or your manager, boss, sometimes they don't know how to talk to people. I didn't let nobody talk to me any kind of way. In the slang term, we say sideways, right? But I didn't let them, and I stood up for myself. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
had a real job where I was paying taxes. I was 12 years old. I used to work at the
Oh
pizza place.
wow.
So I've been working for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
so in my early 20s, man, I started trying, multi-level marketing business like
Mm-hmm.
Excel, Primerica, and stuff like that. And those actually helped develop some of those sales skills
Mm-hmm.
over the years. And just reading, I was like, man, I like this, but I don't like the idea I have to bring somebody that motivate me because
Right.
they may not move the same speed I move. I move different.
Mm.
I move fast. I move swift.
Yeah.
I don't have to have all the answers. Others do. But I figure I'll learn it along the way. I was, self-taught, and so many people around me poured into me, and that's kind of how I navigated and moved through the entrepreneur journey.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. What would you say your first successful or um yeah, entrepreneurial endeavor was?
Uh, the company I got now is it's called a preservation services, and preservation services is when I go into homes, houses
Mm-hmm.
that either been foreclosure or somebody that got evicted,
Mm-hmm.
or a big investor. want to turn the property, and so I go
Mm-hmm.
in and fix the property.
Yeah.
And I learned all that on the job.
Mm.
I had the company, and
Mm-hmm.
that story is amazing. So I don't know
Wow.
if you want
Please
me to
tell
kind
it.
of tap
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
so my wife and I was talking, and I used to see these guys all the time. I said, man, I love to do what they doing. I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know the name of it, but I seen them like evicting and getting trash out the houses and fixing
Mm-hmm.
them up. I was like, man, I need to figure out how to do that. And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of stumbled upon it because my wife's a real estate agent. And she was like,
Yeah.
well, maybe you need to do this. This guy's making a lot of money. And I remember the guy said, he was telling my wife, he said, and when I was around, he was like, I'm waiting on them to send me a $25,000 check like that. And my wife and I said, you mean 2,500? He said, no, I mean 25,000.
Yeah.
And he said, that's for this month. I said,
Wow.
I said, if I could get some pennies off of that, I'm smiling. So,
Yeah.
so, I went down that journey. I started reading. I started talking to people. I
Yeah.
started figuring it out. And I had a gentleman that used to live next door to me. And, he was a go-getter, right? And he always used to, come over there and cut my grass, fix something for me. And, I started the company. When I started the company, man, you needed all this pretty equipment. You need these zero turn lawnmowers. These lawnmowers
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 a piece. Backpack
Yeah.
blowers, they $500 a piece. Weed eaters, five, six, $700 a piece. I was like, I can't afford that. So so sometimes I learned in sales, right? Sometimes you have to borrow somebody's store or borrow them until you get your own.
Yeah.
So what I did was I knew this dude that had all this pretty equipment, and so I had to bring it there for them to take pictures and see it. But on the backside, I had a push lawnmower with three good wheels and one broke wheel. I had a I had a blower that I had 100-foot extension cord that I used to have to bring it in. If they ain't had power, I was out there with the broom. You know,
Wow.
I had an agent, and so and I remember my first job that I did. It was $25. And let me tell you something. That $25 made me so excited and happy.
Mm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
reason that I don't want the audience to miss the point. I know they say $25. Really? I knew it worked. That's all I needed to
Yeah.
know. I
Yeah.
needed to know that it worked. Once
Yeah.
it worked, I'm a working machine. And
Yeah.
so by the grace of God, I knew he was gonna lead me and put me in the right place, put me in front of the right people. And for I and it wasn't a month later I got a rider lawnmower. I bought it, I financed it, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and I ended up keeping it for about a week or two, and I took it back to him. I was like, man, this is not doing what I needed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a buddy that was selling a zero turn lawnmower, and I ended up being able to make the money within them 2 weeks with that rider. I was able to pay cash for that zero turn.
Wow.
And the key is putting your money back into your business.
Mm.
And not,
That's good.
I like to dress, I like to travel, but
Mm-hmm.
but this right here is gonna feed you forever if you keep taking care of
Yeah.
it, and that's one of
Yeah.
the keys. And so now I got you know so much equipment, I don't really need to buy anything anymore. Just maintaining and servicing it. And so that's kind of my journey, and I've been doing it for 15 years.
So you mentioned putting money back um into your business. Like how do you determine how much, because you travel, you be gone. You be gone.
Yeah,
How do you
I travel.
determine you be traveling? How do you determine, I'm gonna spend this much money to maintain the business versus I'm gonna spend this much money on, me and my family?
Let me give you a
Like how
great
do you know how
example.
much to pay yourself? Yeah.
Let me give you a great, well, at least I think it's a great example. When I
Mm-hmm.
had that riding lawnmower, right, the rider that I was financing, and then I
Mm-hmm.
took it back, and when I took it back, they made me they made me clear. I didn't owe, I wasn't in debt. I didn't do anything. It was just like a basic return. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I took so that lawnmower, and when I was moving around the city, my capability of cutting grass was about 6, 7 yards. When I
Mm-hmm.
got off that lawnmower and I got home by the end of the day, I was extremely tired
Yeah.
because, and so these things you don't understand and know until you in it, or somebody tell you, you might have an idea. So what I did when I got that zero turn lawnmower, not only how fast that lawnmower is, I could do 15 yards by
Mm-hmm.
myself, won't be tired,
Mm-hmm.
and make double the money. And
Yeah.
so when you understand that your tools that you purchase, they're like a extra man because it helps you
Mm-hmm.
and motivates you to do the work more efficiently.
Right.
So if you shortcut on your tools, this is what this, please audience don't miss this. If you shortcut, I know you got to do what you got to do, just like when I
Yeah.
told my story at first. But if you shortcut on your tools, you're going to be paying in physical effort, and it's
Yeah.
going to wear you out. But if you invest the money in your tools going to make your job so much easier. And I
Mm-hmm.
learned that by physically being in the trenches of this business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you start the podcast location next, or what was next after that? And did you do
Um.
that? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had so that business. Then next was our production studio. That was
Production
the next.
studio.
Yes, that was the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my son went to school for being a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at 16 years old, he started doing content creation. And I
Mm-hmm.
walked in the house and
Wow.
he had rearranged the house, and I was like, "Boy, your mom gonna kill you," And so he was live, and we don't know nothing about that. You live, you got people in our personal house with cameras. That
mm-hmm.
stuff was new. Ain't like
Mm-hmm.
now, it's new. So
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't know what your mom gonna say, but I couldn't say nothing to him because he was live. And I looked
Mm-hmm.
down at the camera. He had 1,000 people looking at him,
Wow.
and I was
Wow.
blown away. And what I did, it was funny because you could only see like, let me see, you could only see this much of him, right?
Oh, really?
Because he had, because he didn't know what he was doing with the camera, and so I adjusted.
He was looking like that, and it was 1,000 people watching.
Yes, 1,000 people.
Wow.
Yes, they
Wow.
couldn't even see him. He was just there, and I was blown away. And I adjusted his camera, and when I adjusted his camera was the birth of the business.
Mm.
I became his cameraman. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I told him if he's serious, I said I'm not into misappropriating money around here. My wife and I said if you're serious, you stick to it. When you turn 18, this gonna be your Christmas gift. And I
Wow.
turned to the company for his Christmas gift. I gifted him a corporation, and and from there, man, we covered the Super Bowl, we covered the Democratic debate, we covered the Pro Bowl, we covered the Hawks game. I mean, all kind of celebrities, concerts. The list goes on, and
Mm-hmm.
if you got a dream, man, go out there. And so one lesson that I want to point out with this particular story is not all those accomplishments, but the real story is invest in your kids. You know,
Yes, that's
um,
good.
their vision is not going, and this stuff we talk about that on the podcast. Their vision is not going, especially if you our age or older. Their vision not going to line up, and we're not going to really understand them fully. But
Mm-hmm.
support them, support them.
Yeah.
My nephew, he's a gamer, and
Mm-hmm.
um and literally he used to play video games all day long. And my brother on the podcast jokingly said, first of all, it starts by irresponsible parents,
Mm.
because you let your kid play. And but
Mm-hmm.
he John Maxwell talks about the 10,000 hours of developing something,
Right,
and
right.
you become a professional.
Yeah.
Well, my nephew is a professional Call of Duty gamer,
Yeah.
but if he had told that to his parents, or your children tell that to you, like, boy, you crazy, you need to go get a job. You need to do. And so what happens is sometimes you there's a wedge that comes between the kid and the parent because you keep
Mm-hmm.
trying to push me to do something, and I can't live my dreams and my goals, and parents beat them out of.
Mm-hmm.
They beat it out you. So
Yeah.
I advise you to listen in and try to support that
Yeah.
area. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but my son is a great example. I mean, he be on for my man as a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
He on these national TV shows and platforms, and he do all kind of stuff. He do stuff for the King Center. He does stuff for iHeartRadio. But this all started from a camera in the living room, and
Yeah.
and a parent is engaging in what they doing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I know I
Where did
went
you learn
on, but
that from?
what did I learn
Where'd
what
you
from?
how to be so encouraging and not, especially if you don't know something about something, like
Yeah.
where did you get that from? Because not
Uh,
everybody has that.
right. I think it starts off being curious.
That's
Um,
good.
and um, 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 some people refer like I always talk about people talk about like their gut. It comes from
Yeah.
my gut.
Yeah.
If you in the walks of Christianity, you talk about the Holy Spirit,
Right.
or if you're not really sure, you say something told me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and 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 that's something that tells you is the authentic and the realness that it ever will get.
Yeah.
Um, and I always talk about, as tragic as 9/11, when you hear those stories where the people who live, they say, something told me not to go
Mm-hmm.
to work that day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm telling you that something, don't ignore it because that's
Yeah.
the real deal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about this on my podcast. I can't stress that enough. And so I'm a Christian, so I know it's the Holy Spirit leading me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know the Holy Spirit ain't gonna lead me in the wrong direction. So
Yeah.
I know what that feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is how you know, for the viewers, even if you're not spiritual, it would not let you go on. It will annoy you, it will poke at you, it will it will make you feel uncomfortable. But
Mm-hmm.
what happens to most people is you try to move
Mm-hmm.
and ignore it. But I'm telling you, if you don't know what it is that thing that nudges you and irritates you, and not irritates you, but it bothers you so much,
Yeah.
you forced to make a decision.
Yeah.
And and I encourage you to listen to it because that's the real deal.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
when you are, making a decision to pivot, do you feel like it's the same nudging? Like how do you
Sometimes,
Mhm.
sometimes it be me,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I can distinguish the two, but you got to
Yeah.
be in tune with yourself to be able to identify. And
Mhm.
I'm able to identify. 'Cause sometimes I'm hard headed, I'm bullheaded. But over the years,
Mhm.
I've learned. I've been like I said, I'm a student of the business.
Mhm.
So but at the same time, man, I believe that the other scripture, walk by faith, not by sight, and
Mhm.
um, and I believe God can, supply all our needs through His riches and glory.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
those scriptures, man, motivate me. I believe them.
Mhm.
They work. They work for me. They work for many other people. But that's just how I roll. And
Mhm.
not only that, I talk to people and cross reference. and bounce this thought, this idea, and
Mm-hmm.
and if I keep hearing it more than one time, that's confirmation to me. And you
Mm-hmm.
know what? If it ain't right, that's what I got time to undo it. It's not the end of the world. Keep on moving,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And so as kids, if you touch the stove and it burns your hand, you go let up off of it, right? And so in business,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when them pains hurt, sometimes you gotta go through them, and sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
gotta know when to cut your losses.
Right.
And I've been seasoned enough to be able to be able to identify both.
So,
Hmm.
do you feel like emotions have ever got in the way of cutting losses, or is it just like you've done it so much that you emotions aren't don't play a part?
Well, um, yes and no, but very little.
Mm,
Like, so let me say, when like I said, I've been a salesperson since I was 7 years old, right?
mm-hmm.
And what I sold, I used to go and scout tickets at the football game. So at 7 years old, I'm encountering and I'm doing business transaction with adults
Mm-hmm.
the whole time. So if I'm out there 3 hours before the game, I'm, and so, you know about supply and demand. You may not know the terminology, but
Right.
when it's get close to game time, you can't be selling the same ticket for $200. You might be able to have to sell it for $50, 75, just to get rid
Get
of
rid
it.
of them.
And
Yeah.
so you talk about the market curves, and I'm learning all this stuff, not the language, but I'm learning
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing this the whole season of the football game. And when the football
Mm-hmm.
game's over, I'm doing it for basketball season, and back and forth. And I'm transacting business with adult as a kid. And my uncle
Yeah.
taught me this, you know. And so, um, hearing no is like hearing yes. You just get numb to it. So when
Yeah.
somebody tell you no, you develop a numbness to it, you know.
Mm.
And so in sales, and then when you've been doing it a long time, you want to get the nose out the way because you know the yes right around the corner. And so you
Yeah.
just using reverse psychology with yourself. You motivating yourself. You pumping yourself up. And so, um, and you understand in sales, everything is a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, I've been saying this for years, and I heard it the first time the other day from somebody else, and it blew me away, right?
Mm.
But everybody is a salesperson. They just don't know
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is you talking to your significant other and you want to go to dinner, you say, hey, let's go to this restaurant. They say, let's go to this one. And it's just transactional. And whoever,
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, you going to this restaurant. And so we do it all the time, but the word sales scares people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
whether you're a good salesperson or a bad one, we all transact and we all salespeople, believe it or
So
not.
how would you say for somebody who doesn't know that they're in sales, how would they get used to no so they could get over that emotional part of hearing the no? How do you get over how do you
I got you.
emotionally
Um,
get used to it?
well, it's reps. It's reps. And what I
Yeah.
mean by reps is you gotta keep doing it. Think about it. All
Yeah.
of us was little kids at one point, right? And
Mm-hmm.
our parents kept telling us we didn't know what yes mean. We only knew what no mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop doing that no. Stop no. Don't do that no. Don't do that
Mm-hmm.
no. But you you kept living life, right? You either
Right.
right? You kept living life. And
Mm-hmm.
so once again, we used to hearing no
Mm-hmm.
because we grew up hearing no. But then a certain age, you don't hear the word no no more. I mean, you hear it, but not as frequent.
Yeah.
And so when you was a kid, they told you no, but you kept doing it. You didn't stop, right? you kept on doing it. And so when you get those reps in sales, it's gonna be uncomfortable, right? Because people don't like rejection,
Right.
but you don't take it personal. Maybe you're not explaining yourself well. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
it's never the price, right? Believe it or not,
Mm-hmm.
right? People buy the person, right? If people buy people who they trust, you know what I mean? They feel that they know that product and that service, you
Yeah.
know. And I see this all the time, you know. And there's other, there's other tools, but people buy the person, not the product,
Yeah.
right? So if you got an amazing story and you got a book, and say, you know what, baby, I don't even read, but I tell you what, I want to support you because I like your story,
Yeah.
and
That's good.
I just want to help
Mm-hmm.
you. They don't even need the book. They not gonna read the book. They might not even give it to nobody. They might leave it in that car, but because your story was amazing and you was
Mm-hmm.
heartfelt and that you connected with them, they bought you,
Yeah.
and that's what
That's
sales
facts
is.
because I mean, I don't know how many books I got that, I just was mesmerized by the person. And was like, okay, let me buy this book and ain't read nothing.
people, people, people buy stories.
Absolutely.
They buy stories,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
people can tell if you a fake or fraud and you ain't genuine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
you, they, and they feel it. They feel it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a feeling. Something ain't right about
Yeah.
that boy down there. You heard old people
Mm-hmm.
say that.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So
so.
how many entrepreneurial endeavors would you say that you've started in your life?
Wow, wow. Um, probably
Hundreds?
nah, not hundreds, about
Oh,
12.
okay. Okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
about maybe
How,
12.
okay, okay.
Yeah, maybe,
That's not
yeah,
bad.
because once you start no entrepreneur endeavors, man, you had to put your own money behind it. It ain't like a job, you
Mm,
know. So, man,
mm-hmm,
I used to get
mm-hmm.
my wife used to fuss at me on the regular,
Really?
you know. Yeah, yeah, because
Um,
um, I she had to understand me, you know. She told me,
mm-hmm.
she told me, man, she said, look, you need to go get a job, right? And I made a promise to her, right? I was like, I promise you that the light's not gonna get cut off, right?
mm,
And we're not gonna go hungry,
yeah.
and we're gonna be all right, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, and those were big shoes to fill, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my confidence level is out of this world, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
but how I'm gonna lose when I got the greatest one on my team, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so I, she might not understand, right? God talking to me, He may not be talking to her, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you sometimes you gotta trust me, right? And I understand it looks shaky, but if I hadn't have went through those challenges, I wouldn't have been able to continue to stay in the fire, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it was ice cream and cake, man, um, it, you gotta go through a journey, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's journeys look different. And so that was my journey. I didn't go to, I went to college, right? But, I dropped out, right? Financial reasons. And, but I ain't let that paralyze me or define me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go anyway. And then they convinced me to go. And so
Mm-hmm.
because at the time, at my age, you had to do a little bit more than go to high school. And that was the scary pivotal point. But I remember my wife saying, she was like, look, you need to go get a job. And I said, and at that point, I felt attacked, right? And
Mm.
I told her, I said, baby, I love you dearly. But if I can't live my dream and I'm
Yeah.
doing what you say, when I supposed to live life,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
work.
Mm.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And you just gonna have to believe me. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like I didn't want to. I was working,
Yeah.
but I was working a regular job and I was financing my business,
Mm-hmm.
and so um that went on for a long time, and then you lose money, and she's like, look, but just give it up. And I'm like, no,
Mm.
I know it's gonna work, no, and so now. My lifestyle and my business allowed me to travel all over the world.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, we went on like 24 vacations. We always travel. We take 6, 7 cruises a year. Last year went to Paris. 28 of us went to Paris. Stayed in amazing hotels. Everywhere we go, we stay at these amazing resorts. Go to the airport. You in the club. You in the lounges. And
Mm-hmm.
just, just allow me to be able to be at every one of my son's games that I could make it.
Mm-hmm.
Allow me to. I remember one of my favorite stories, man. He, I sent him to a private school, right? We sent him to a private school. One of my favorite stories was, he went to the school and he was doing the Wizard of Oz play, and he had this major part. And I was there, and he didn't know I was there. And
Mm-hmm.
I left before I left before he could see me, right? And he said, Dad, he said, Dad, you and Mom missed it. I said,
Mm.
Miss what? He said, you missed the play, Dad. It was so amazing. I said, man, it's all right, man, such like that,
Playing with him.
right? Next thing you know, I turned around and I showed him the video. I said,
Mm-hmm.
Dad, don't miss nothing, baby. Dad, don't
Yeah.
miss nothing. Right? And he was like, oh, you was there. Yes, I was there. Right? And so I was just telling him that him and his mom, we his biggest cheerleaders, right? We're going to be
Yeah.
there. We're going to show up. You may not see us, but we in the room, right?
Yeah.
Whether we there physically or spiritually, we there. And so I just showed him that you'll never know who's watching you and you'll never know who's around. And I just
Yeah.
showed him that in one of those moments. And so it was funny, yo, but yeah. And he did that with the king. He did a king's speech and the same type of thing. And I showed him the
Mm.
video. And so, yeah, it was cool.
That's
But
what's up.
that's what entrepreneurs allow me to do.
Yeah. So when your wife was saying, I need you to get a job, was she in real estate at that time?
Yeah, she's been in real estate a long time, so probably, most likely, but she wasn't doing it full time. Yeah,
Okay. Is she full time
yeah.
now?
Oh, yeah, 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 man. Yeah, everybody in this house entrepreneurs. We've been entrepreneurs forever. Yeah,
So it's in the family
yeah,
because
I just, I didn't really push it on them. I just
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
exposed it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I just
Okay.
kept doing what I do. So
So
yeah,
they
I
were
was.
like so they were like, I like the freedom. Like, what made them launch into their own
Well,
entrepreneurial journey?
I like to say I ruined my wife, right? In a good way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my
Mm-hmm.
wife was, she was brought in like, go get a job, work there, retire, 30 years. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I ain't cut like that.
Yeah.
And so, I so she got a real estate license when we started buying and flipping properties and
Mm-hmm.
getting some rental properties years ago. Like we was in our early 20s. Uh, we wasn't even like 20, 25, 23, 24. Like we were young and we was,
Mm-hmm.
buying property. And then after that, um, she kind of seen it. And then what happened? Her job that she was working at, they moved to Florida, and she was like, "Well, I
Mm-hmm.
ain't moving to Florida." So they gave her a little pay. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but I mean, it was a
Mm-hmm.
lot to us at the time. And so we took that and paid some bills and bought a property with it.
Wow.
And then she just kept being around it, kept hearing it, and kept seeing it. And then I think really what helped our pastor is an entrepreneur, and
Mm.
when he in the pulpit, at that time he used to talk about it a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
that really helped me out a lot because I used to I used to get the business, man. Back then, man, we used to have those little, and they were all our arguments really was about me and my business, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and now, you know, on one hand, I'm in touch with all that 5 years. So,
Wow.
you know, it's just, yeah, we know each other, you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's
So,
beautiful. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Let me see. Let me go in. So, what role would you say faith plays in your decision to pivot? I know you said you have 12 businesses. How many of those 12 are you still
what?
working?
No, no, okay, over the years. Oh,
Yeah,
wow. I be asking myself that all the time, right?
yeah.
So, I ain't trying to keep up. So I got the All Star. That's my bread and butter, right? So that's the maintenance
Mm-hmm.
company. That's the bread and butter. That fuels everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I have a business on my own where I buy properties, rental properties, and and um and I have that company.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the production company where it's the family, but my son pretty much is the head of it,
Mm-hmm.
the production company. And then we got B2M, the podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
those two
So
companies.
so while you were, going through starting and pivoting in those 12 businesses, how did faith or did faith um play a role in you saying, okay, it's time to move on from this one, or uh let's,
Yeah, so
whatever,
so like so like the 12 businesses that was over a period of time. So when
right.
2009 came, I was
Mm-hmm.
more laser focused on, now I know how to pay my bills with these businesses. So ever
Mm-hmm.
since 2000, so those other businesses was like short lived, this and
Mm-hmm.
that. But one of the businesses I could never pass the life insurance test, right? I took that
Mm-hmm.
thing a gazillion times, right? Couldn't pass it. I kept getting tired of paying them $90, right? Like I gave them thing close a lot of money, right? I probably took the test 10, 12 times. I couldn't pass it, right? I was like, you know what? Enough, right? Forget it. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? I'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And so, um, so, that was one of the things that used to give me the hiccups and hinder me. So I have to move how I move. I can't
Yeah.
move like everybody else wants me to move. It's different for people. People can't understand it, but real
Mm-hmm.
hard entrepreneurs is to the core. When I'm talking to this, they like, man, that dude just like me. But if
Mm-hmm.
you like, man, he's crazy. So it just, so real entrepreneurs, they got these same stories. They just, in a different area.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, um, maybe it forced me to quit, or I was like, man, I ain't
Mm-hmm.
making no money here, and
Yeah.
and money motivates me, in a good way. I don't do
Yeah.
crazy stuff for money, but it motivates me in a good way. And if I don't see results, I'm gone. So
Yeah.
that was a lesson on its own. So I don't know if it was spiritual, but I was out of there.
So, y'all listen to his podcast. I'm gonna put a link in the description.
Thank you.
One of the episodes, you talked about your son. You had your son on the podcast, and you were talking about letting the am I production company.
Yeah,
Is that how you?
production
Is
company.
that what?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It
Letting
was a
that
studio.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, production studio.
Mhm.
Letting that go, and his emotions. How did you walk him through, that process of pivoting? I mean, because he's still successful, he's still doing a thing, but when you get your I don't want to say emotions, but this is like your child, something that you've
Yeah.
dreamt about and you planning for. How did you walk him through, pivoting? Um,
Um.
Yeah.
Some moments was rough, right? Like
Mhm.
like like cut to the chase, no chaser, like almost when I say something, like it was like like paralyzed, like yo, Dad, you said that, like I wanted to shock
Mm.
your system, right? I
Okay.
wanted you,
Okay.
I want to shock your system. The
Mhm.
reason I want to shock your system because man, I've told him since he was a little kid. I said, there's a lot of journeys that you gonna go on, and I always told them that they not always gonna be nice. And
Mhm.
so my son, he never experienced poverty in his life, right?
Mhm.
So and he's the only child, and he's spoiled, right?
Mhm.
But we spoiled him, right? So when he was born, he he was brought up in a house, right, in a neighborhood, right. And when he was 3 years old, we moved to another house. That's the house we're in now. And so, he don't know nothing about power getting cut off, water and not eating, and, or a little bit of food. He don't know nothing about those. He don't know nothing about living in the projects. He don't know nothing about none of that stuff, right? And so, um, and so, needless to say, you know, he hadn't had any like losses, so to speak. I mean, you
Mhm.
know, some loved ones that lost along the way, but he hadn't had no losses or stuff. And
Yeah.
so this was really his first personal loss that he was connected to. And
Yeah.
I had to walk him through it. But some conversations I was straightforward and I let him ponder on it, and then I came back and loved on him, right? And
Mhm.
so I wanted to stick. Then I came back and I boosted him up and gave him the tools he need and gave him, you know, because we go to church, so I'll say a scripture to him, and
Mhm.
this is what Pastor meant when he said this in this sermon, and then this I can use these moments, teachable moments,
Yeah.
and so I use a lot of teachable moments, and it's still hard, you know, to him, but once again, I'm wired different, right? So I sometimes like I remember when he had his first car accident, right?
Mhm.
And I said something real cruel to him, right? And I said congratulations, right?
Mhm.
And he was like, he was shook up, right? I said congratulations, right? He was like, 17, and he was like, what? I said, man, now I got your attention, right? So you weren't listening before. You thought you knew everything, man. I was telling you this. And so now that accident shocked his system. Now I
Yeah.
got his attention. And I understand sometimes when you have some tragic in your life, it make you run to God. It make you
Mhm.
align. Some people, not everybody,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I understand that I knew that work. And so sometimes, like even with the studio, I shared with him. I said, son, look, we lost a building. You're We didn't lose a business. We
Right.
still running the business. You still got your car. We didn't get put out of the house. You still eating, bro. It's okay. We ran the business out the house for 4 5 years successful.
Mhm.
Made way more money than we made at the studio. But sometimes you gotta use your smarts, right? And sometimes you gotta know when, Kenny Rogers said you gotta know when to hold them and fold them, right? And so sometimes you gotta know when to cut your losses. Sometimes you gotta know when to regroup back up and analyze and grow and you can go back 10 times better, tenfold,
Yeah.
God gonna bless you again. It was just a
Mhm.
moment. It's okay. You'll live, you'll survive. And so those are, some of the stories amongst them I told him to build him back up, man. And I loved on him,
Mhm.
hugged him, man. You all right, man? We good. My wife hugged on him, loved on him. We good, bro. Come to us, talk to us anytime, man. We good, man.
Mhm.
And then
That's
guess
so
what?
good.
We jumped on the airplane and went out of town. Don't worry about it, man. We good.
Keep
So
pushing.
yeah.
Does he does he seem like he, I mean, because you've been an example this whole time, you feel like he's grasping what you're saying? I
Oh
mean, it
yeah,
seemed like he
absolutely.
was on that podcast, yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh man, I'm blessed to have a son that really listened to his parents, man. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm really blessed. Like he'll come to us with he always come to me first, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He always come to me. He's like, Dad, this is what I'm going through. And oh man, don't worry about that. Dad, that's what you don't understand. Yeah, dude, you good, man. And I walk him and talk him through it. And I appreciate that because
Yeah.
that's what I want to do, right? You know, I don't want you to be getting getting um getting these lessons from another 23-year-old who don't have the
Yeah, that's good.
experiences, right? And it might
Mm-hmm.
might might put you in a bad situation or a vulnerable situation or a situation that you seriously could get hurt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, not saying that I don't want you to listen to your friends and your peers, etc. But
Yeah.
sometimes, man, and you still can go to them and hear what they had to say. And man, I was extremely proud of him, man. I didn't even tell him to do this, man. I mean, it was amazing that he went on social media and posted that he closed the studio. When I seen that right there, man, that just did something to me as a father because
Mm-hmm.
I talk about being humble. I talk about getting your ego in check. I talk about, life is about wins and losses. You know what I'm saying? I talk about these things. And man, when he did that, man, my goodness, man, I was like, man, it is almost a level of life of graduating to the next level. You can
Mm-hmm.
stand in front of the world, and this was your baby, and I know how much your heart was involved, and
Yeah.
you could be that vulnerable, and people flooding with love,
Mm,
with
that's
love.
good.
And I was telling them this. I say, man, there's so many celebrities and people that you look up to that started these businesses and stuff, but it ain't work either,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it's okay. He said, for real, they did. I said, yeah, man. I started naming all these people. He was like, for real, yeah. It's all right, man. And, I think I mean, even though he think about it, he might get a little sad, but overall,
Yeah.
man, he's a soldier. Yeah, he's solid, man. I love
That's
it.
so wonderful. I love that for both of y'all. Because everybody don't have parents that will listen. I feel like that's what I was going to say. You laid the groundwork by listening in the first place, and then you can be somebody to lean on when he's really going through something because you set that foundation of
Yeah.
I'm here for you. you know I think that's so
Uh,
wonderful. That's so
Thank you.
wonderful.
Yeah, man. I just keep showing up, man. Yeah, yeah, just it's all about showing up, man. I mean, I was
Yeah.
growing up, man. I lost my pops at a young age to kidney failure, and
Mm,
then my mom was there, and I had the village, my grandma, grandfather, and I had the village, there, and they loved on us. They wrapped their arms, around us. We might not have everything, man, but one thing I could tell you was love is in that house, and that love was real,
that's
and
good.
and you see our cousins, man. We might tell you we love you 1,000 times. You like, what's wrong with them dudes? Because it's real, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's one of God's main thing is love, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so we just let people
absolutely.
know we care, we root for them. That's how we roll. Yeah.
That's what's up. I love it. I love it. I love it. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are considering a pivot in their business? Like what kind of
Hmm.
things would you say they need to take under consideration?
Man, that's a good one. Especially when you're talking about pivoting, man, because pivoting can paralyze you.
Mm,
If you're not prepared. So,
yeah.
um, I don't know if I really want to because you gotta understand the situation, and
Mm.
so a lot of my pivots was spiritual pivots there,
Mm.
and you know, so maybe you just need to go and analyze your data, right? Go and
Mm-hmm.
analyze like what's working and what ain't working. I would
Yeah.
say that. I would say that because
Yeah.
if you've been in it a while, even if it's 6, 8 months or whatever, um, you know, um, I would say that. But I do have a story I would like to share because I
Okay.
think this story is vital for
Mm-hmm.
what you just said at pivoting. Um, my brother had have a friend that was building a software company, and he was building it for like 5 years and did
Mm.
not make zero money, right? Had $2.12 in his bank account. Next morning he waked up, he sold his company for $200 million.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? You just never know. $200 million, like 12 cents in your account, zero money, 2 million in your account.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Yeah.
you better be tapped into knowing that
Mm-hmm.
move you make, because I don't want to
Yeah.
say it, and that's the reason I don't say it, because
Yeah.
you got to kind of look at your data and make
Right.
those necessary adjustments, and
Mm-hmm.
they can just be small adjustments. They don't have to be nothing drastic,
Mm-hmm.
but you never know, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in business, sometimes the money is the last thing to come, and if you focusing on the money
Yeah.
all the time, even though I'm money motivated, but that can hurt me at times, right? You know,
Yeah.
but sometimes you 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 gotta go back to either the numbers or what your spirit telling you, and that's
Yeah.
why I would say the pivot. So that you know um kind of hit on both sides when you need to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to make the pivot. Don't be afraid to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good. That's good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me.
Of
Yeah.
course. So tell the viewers how to where to follow you and all that good stuff.
So my personal IG
Uh,
Instagram is at TILIK
uh-huh.
WYNN Win. Again, that's on Instagram, so you can follow me on there, as well as B2M Crew. You can go to on Instagram, B2M Crew, the number
The number
five.
2.
No, 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 no. This my this the IG, the number five. Oh, no, 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 number
Oh,
two. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. No, I'm sorry.
no problem. No
B2M
problem.
Crew. Yeah, go to B2M Crew. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. What were you saying about number
Oh,
5?
okay. Now that was my email. I'm sorry. So if you want to
Oh,
email the B2M Crew, you can go to
uh-huh.
B2M Crew number five at gmail.com. You get in touch with me.
Okay.
Yeah, and then of
All
course I
right.
show on YouTube the number B, the letter B, the number two M Crew, and then that's at on YouTube. Yeah.
YouTube. All right, and I'll put a link to everything in the description box.
Thank you so much. I sure appreciate everything.
Thank you.
But yeah,
Thank you
this
for
was amazing. I'm so proud of you. Keep doing what you
thank
do.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank
so
you.
keep it up.